Hi, in this week's video I'm going to show you 5 ways that the humble e-Golf beats this, the beast that is the Audi E-Tron. Let's get cracking. So I've not driven the Golf for a while, but it's just, I've said this before, but it's just so eager. It's like having a mate who's always up for the pub. You know, like a dog that hasn't seen you for a week. It's willing, it's sprightly, it just wants to go, it wants to work, it wants to have fun. It's just a really good place to be. Let's get some speed up and we'll see how it is then. I'm not even on the dual carriageway yet, but I'm smiling away to myself. It just wants to go. I really, really like it. It is such a sprightly car. And it may not have the performance, it may not be as refined as the E-Tron. So that's you know, the E-Tron is faster, the E-Tron is a more refined car, but this feels really good, actually. Let's have a look and just get on the dual carriageway. So here we are, it's just more fun, it's more engaging. You might be able to see there's a little bit more camera shake. So this car is on springs, it's not on air suspension. It's obviously a shorter wheelbase. So if I was driving to France, I would take the Audi. But for 95% of my driving, it is generally round town and dual carriageways. This car makes me smile. And I think one of the reasons for that is its honesty. So it's not a pure ground-up EV. If this had been built by Londoners, there'll be 2 cockneys in the back of a warehouse going, let's get the engine and gearbox out of that Golf we've got in the unit and we'll stick some batteries and a motor in it. And then the other ones come back and said, what about the wheel spin? And the first one would just say, let's not mention that, let's not mention that in the brochure. So it's just like that. This is an honest, happy place to be. Now, this isn't a test about adaptive cruise control, but I'd also like to add that the Audi adaptive cruise control, in my mind, is second to none. It's better than our Tesla Model S. In fact, noticeably better. The Golf, 95% as good as the Audi, but certainly better than a Tesla. So I would describe the Audi's sort of driving style as kind of Audi corporate. It's good, it's really good. I mean, it drives really, really well. But I mean, it's a little bit dull. So I drive in dynamic because that takes well the wallowing, because it is a bit of a wallowy car, but that goes with dynamic. But it doesn't really put a smile on my face. I feel like it's kind of been designed. This car may have been through 237 departments just to get this driving right. It's just nondescript. So one of the best things about driving an EV is I really like it when you've got really strong regenerative braking. So if you put the Golf into B, which I'll show you in a moment, it's essentially, in the most part, one pedal driving, because as soon as you take your foot off the accelerator, it just brakes. It uses the inertia to charge the battery. So with the Audi, there's just really no real regen. Now, so you're using the brake a lot more, and it's an odd sensation. So when you lift off the accelerator in a petrol or diesel car, you will automatically get a little bit of engine braking, which we're all used to, I guess, if you've driven a petrol or diesel car. In an EV, that can be a lot stronger, and that takes a little bit of getting used to. But when you take your foot off the accelerator in the Audi, it's just nothing. I would say it's the equivalent of sticking a petrol or diesel car into neutral. So you reach, say, 60, 70 miles an hour and put it in neutral. The car is just essentially rolling. You can mess around with the Regen a little bit on this to try and get more out of it. It's not really worth the effort. The only time you get any sort of regen really is if you're braking or you've got the cruise control on and the car in front of you brakes and you see a little bit of regen. But it's an odd sensation, and I wish Audi had added an option to really ramp up the regenerative braking, just so you can have a bit more of that one pedal experience, which you don't have. So I'm just thinking, it's definitely louder in here than it is in the Audi, but I'm not going to mention that. I'll have to edit that bit out. So let's talk regen. So in the Golf, you've got 4 levels of regen. Generally, I just stick it in D if I'm driving on the motorways, or I stick it in B if I'm doing town driving. So B is like the maximum regen setting, and you've got 3 or 2 settings in between. But let me show you this. I'm going to put the car in B. Now, I haven't got my other camera mount, but I'm doing 55 miles an hour, and I'm just going to come off at a slip road. I'll do a couple of examples of this. So I'm still doing 55, you'll have to take my word for it. I'm going to take my foot off the accelerator. I'm now doing 50, I'm now doing 45, I'm now doing 40, I'm now doing 35, I'm now doing 30. I've not touched the brake once. So I'm doing 30, I'm going to take it off again. I'm coming to a red traffic light. I'm all the way down to 10, 5, and I've stopped. That's 1 foot driving for you. But I'm on a slip road, so it is a little bit of an angle, so let's find a flat bit of road. So whilst I'm finding a flat bit of road, something that's just crossed my mind. So, I mean, as a daily driver, and I know I keep banging on about this, and I know this is our e-Golf, so I am not impartial in this situation. But as a daily driver, this has changed my mood. So I've been stuck in my office all day. I'm a landlord. So generally a lot of the emails are people wanting me to solve their problems, and quite often problems they can solve themselves, like changing light bulbs or someone's parked in their car parking space. So there's a lot of that. But getting in this today and coming out, I've had my lunch, I'm driving a journey I don't really want to make. This is kind of through necessity, this journey. I've not grinned so much for about 3 days. I've not driven this car for about a month. Right, anyway, back to the test. Let's find some flat roads so I can test that. I'm doing it again here. So I'm coming up to a roundabout, and once again, I'm not touching the brake. In fact, I'm having to keep my foot on the accelerator a bit so the car doesn't brake too much. So I've turned the camera around for this one. So I'm following this van, and I'm hoping he's going to turn left when I turn left in a minute. I'm currently doing 40 miles an hour. And all I'm going to do, if he does turn left, please turn left. Yes. I'm just going to take my foot off the accelerator. And you can see he's braking, and I've gone down to 10, 15 miles an hour to make this turning without even touching the brake at all. Well, I hope you're enjoying this video. If you are, as always, I ask this in all my videos, please hit the like button. It really helps the channel out. This channel's about electric vehicles, from personal electric vehicles to cars and bikes, etc. If you're not a subscriber, please hit the subscribe button as well. Cheers. Compared to the e-Golf, the E-Tron is just really disappointing when it comes to efficiency. Yes, I know that this weighs about 1,000 kilograms more than an e-Golf, but this is a £70,000 high-end, top-end luxury Audi EV. This is a ground-up EV. So I've just driven about 15 miles, and that's a mixture of motorway miles at about 60 miles an hour and some town driving at, say, sort of 10 or 20 miles an hour. I'm getting 2.3 miles per kilowatt hour. 2.3 miles. It's just really quite poor. And this has got a 90 kilowatt hour battery, usable battery. It's got a 95 kilowatt hour battery, but 90 usable. So this is going to get nowhere near its official range, which I think is 248 miles. I'll put it on the screen if it's different. If you've got 90 kilowatt hour battery and you're getting 2.3 miles per kilowatt, you're probably looking at about just under 200 miles range. So really, I mean, the e-Golf wins when it comes to efficiency. Okay, so I've come to post a parcel and I've forgotten my mask. So that's a slightly wasted trip, but I've got other things to do. Let's look at the efficiency. So I've been driving this car in the same way that I would drive the E-Tron, and as I do drive the E-Tron, check out this efficiency. So there is my average consumption since I started this journey, 4.5 miles per kilowatt hour. And that's the same mixture of kind of 25, 30 mile an hour roads and 70 mile an hour G carriageway. How can the e-Golf, the humble e-Golf, beat down the magnificent E-Tron on efficiency like that? 4.5 kilowatts compared to, I've even forgotten what the E-Tron was getting, I'll put it here. 4.5 kilowatts compared to this. How can a knocked up electric Golf beat a Flagship £70,000 EV for efficiency this badly? And I've not been, I think if I'd have really tried, I could have probably got that to 5. So for the purpose of showing you this, I'm joined by my assistant Maya. Hi Maya.
Hi.
Can you take the parcel shelf out of the Golf, please? On a scale of 1 to 10, how difficult was that?
0.
0? So now we're on to the E-Tron. You ready? Okay, can you get it out? So on a scale of 1 to 10, how difficult was that?
9.
Maya?
Yeah?
So you've taken it out.
Yeah.
I'd like to see you put it back in.
Yeah.
Let me move that bag for you. Definitely in.
9. Why isn't it burning? I can't put it back in.
Is it in?
I don't know.
It's still not in, is it?
How do you put it in?
Okay. Yeah, you need to just clip it in.
There you go.
Is it in?
Yeah.
Ah, cool. So how hard was that compared to the Golf?
That was very difficult.
So which has got the easiest to use parcel shelf?
The Golf.
So next is central storage. So in the Golf, you've got this nice deep area here. It's deep enough to put a pint of milk in. You've got this area here, which is a cup holder, but you can put some sunglasses in there and close it off. You've also got this really good storage area in there. Let's have a look at the E-Tron. So on the face of things, if you look in there, that's quite a big space, isn't it? It looks a lot better than the e-Golf, but it's just a big open space. So if you've got anything of any value, the only place you can store it is where you would with the e-Golf. Now these do go down, so you get a bit more storage, but it's the same sliding cup holder style storage. You've got this cubby hole here, and considering how much bigger the E-Tron is than the e-Golf, it's a really small cubby hole. And then where the Golf's got even more storage, you've got a screen. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you found it useful. Yes, the E-Tron is a magnificent car. It's not a magnificent EV, but it is a magnificent car. But the e-Golf is the unsung hero of the EV world. A bit like the BMW i3. Or the Renault Zoe. So they've been saying for about a year now that they're going to axe the e-Golf. But every time they give a date for axing the e-Golf, they push it back by 3 or 6 months. Yes, I know that the ID3 is coming out, so they do want to stop producing this car. The ID3 has had problems, but I was listening to the EV Daily podcast the other day, and it said that Volkswagen are still making between 80 and 100 e-Golfs a day, and there's a waiting list for them. So don't write the e-Golf off. If you try and get one today from a dealer, even though they're making 2,000-3,000 a month, you're going to struggle. It's that good a car. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I'll put some more videos around me as always, try and get in the middle. Until next time, see you soon.